went to bleeding races, 'twas on the 9th of June 1862 on a summer's afternoon. I took the bus to Banbury's and she was heavy laden. Away we went along Collingwood Street, that's on the road to Bleeding.
You're watching TOON Army TV, welcome to the channel. First of all, apologies about the lack of uploads in the past week or so due to the international break. Thank goodness Newcastle haven't been playing after that rotten 3-0 defeat to Brighton and Hove Albion. I haven't spoken about the TOON ever since because we're not worth talking about right now. Steve Bruce is still in the job and I'm certain that we're going to get relegated to the Championship. The way it's going, the board don't care and neither do I care to speak about Newcastle because who listens? I've forced myself to watch England this past week to see what a win looks like because we've been awful, really, really bad, and I can't see we're winning any more games for the rest of the season. I hope I'm wrong, but I simply can't see it. I want to talk about the rumours going around, and this is by The Athletic, that Dwight Gayle could be signing a new 3-year contract extension. They're all alleged rumours right now that he could be staying at the club until 2024. My opinion is it's a bad move. It's a step in the wrong direction. It's going backwards as per usual. Why would you keep an injury-prone striker? And if you're Dwight Gayle, why would you stay at the club on lower terms? If you're a Premier League footballer or any footballer at any level, you want to try and raise your money, but you don't want to lower your expectations in terms of your wages, in terms of where you want to be. We are a club on the decline. And if I'm Dwight Gayle, I'd be looking to get out as soon as possible, even though we know that he hasn't been good enough in the Premier League. Granted, he was good in the Championship. He worked well under a very good manager in Rafa Benitez, who was tactically sound. He knew how to get the best out of the squad, and that's why we got out of the Championship at the first time of asking. He done okay in the first couple of seasons under Rafa, but the moment he left and Steve Bruce come in, Dwight Gayle has not been the same. He's been constantly in the medical department, trying to sort his injuries out. He's barely been given any appearances. And not only that, he's just not really had the attitude, in my opinion. He's not scored enough goals. Steve Bruce has bigged up Dwight Gayle like he's the best striker since sliced bread. He's always wanted to sign him, but yet Steve Bruce rarely ever picks him when the opportunity has been there this season, when Callum Wilson's been out, ESM's been out. And when he has been playing, I've seen nothing to suggest that he should warrant a new contract. That's my opinion. He simply hasn't been good enough. And whatever happens at the end of the season, if we stay up or go down, I wouldn't be keeping Dwight Gayle anyway. I'd get rid of him. It's called a rebuilding process. We've got a lot of players out of contract at the end of the season, and I wouldn't be sad if either of them signed. For me, I'd get rid of a lot of them. I really would. I would like to start again. I'd love to change the ownership. I'd love to change the manager right now, or even at the end of the season, but it probably won't happen. We are a club that's in a real mess. And if the club think by signing Dwight Gayle for 3 years is going to be the reason that we're going to do well in the Championship next season if we go down, you're badly mistaken, because Joe Linton has been found out this season. For me, he's probably a Championship player. But then I'm saying that he could get found out in the Championship as well. Joe Linton's record and Dwight Gayle's current injury-prone record, if that was in the Championship, I'd be very, very concerned. Andy Carroll, he can leave at the end of the season. We need to bring in a new striker. I look at Callum Wilson. If we go down, then he's got a big decision to make. Does he want to stick around? Or does he want to go back into the Premier League like Andros Townsend did? I think he'd probably take the second option. But if he's loyal, he might stick around. I'm talking like we're getting relegated. It's sad to say, but the writing's on the wall. I feel like Fulham have got a better chance of staying up. I look at the squad. I do rate it. Don't get me wrong, we haven't got loads of quality. But there's enough there to stay mid-table. But it's all down to the management. It's all down to his poor tactical decisions. He doesn't do tactics anyway. He hasn't a clue. That's Like, that's not going to keep winning the Premier League. No one can take Steve Bruce seriously enough. And the ownership, well, it just stinks, doesn't it? Mike Ashley doesn't deserve Premier League money. But then if we go down, if Mike Ashley doesn't get the Premier League money, we suffer as a result as a fan base because we need to stay in the Premier League. We know how, important it is to be, a Premier League club. But with this ownership, with how spineless they are, they've had countless opportunities to, bring in a new manager to try and steady the ship. We know that Mike Ashley's the problem, but in order to solve the small problem with a manager, for me, I feel like it's too late now. It really is too late. And I don't want to hear it if he sacks him with 5 games to go because we're not staying up. For me, it was now, and it's not happened. But in terms of Dwight Gayle, it's a bad move. It really is a bad move. Dwight Gayle needs to move on. There's players that just simply need to move on. We need to bring in new players that are going to try and get off our seats, something different. But if we're just going to keep the same players that are not performing, that just stink to deceive, then we're just going to rot in the Championship for at least a couple of seasons, because that's what I'm expecting. I'm honestly expecting the worst come the end of the season, and I won't be shocked if we get relegated to the Championship. I really won't be. We've never really improved since coming back into the Premier League. Rafa Benitez has got where we needed to be, which was mid-table. He wanted the back end to take us forward, but if you go from Rafa Benitez to Steve Bruce, you're not going to stay in the Premier League. It's as simple as that. He's got the worst stats, in Premier League history, and he's up there with the worst stats this season. Honestly, I could listen to Scott Parker all week, the current Fulham manager, and that's why I believe they'll stay up. They're fighting for him. They've got fighters in there. They've had a bad start of the season. They're starting to turn things around. As for us, we don't have a clue. We really don't. And that decision to keep Dwight Gayle on, if it's true, then I'm disappointed. Didn't get us wrong. On his day, Dwight Gayle can become a good player, but he's not been good enough. Let's face the facts. Rather than give players that haven't been good enough new contracts, bring in, your under 23s, give them an opportunity, or bring someone up from the Championship who could potentially, well, let's say we'll go down, you bring a player from the Championship who wants to play for a big club and get up in the first place, or if we are in the Premier League for next season, bring up a Championship player who is good enough to play Premier League level to give them a chance. But you don't persist with the same players that haven't been good enough. I mean, yes, we know it's business, but if I'm Mike Ashley, I'd let Joe Linton go for free. That's how badly I rate the guy. He's just simply not good enough. But I look at what 4 strikers. It's only Callum Wilson is the one I keep. That's if we stay up. But if we go down, then that's out of our hands, unfortunately, because the Championship, big players don't stay. Alan St. Maximin will be gone. The talk of Almiron as well. I mean, he apparently wants to be away. He wants to be a team that fights. And I don't blame the lad, I really, really don't. Because we don't have grafters in this side anymore. We make too many mistakes. And that Brighton game taught me a lot. It really did, that the players are just thrown in the towel and that they were accepting relegation. I want them to prove us wrong in these next 9 games, but I can't see anything changing anytime soon. That Brighton game, honestly, it stunk. It stunk of a side that shouldn't even be in this league. It's as simple as that. And I know we're good enough to be in this league. I know we are as a club. Stature, we should be in the Premier League. But we don't have a divine right to stay up if we're playing football like this. And if you've got a manager like Steve Bruce who doesn't have a clue what he's doing. There's been all sorts going around in the past week in terms of the whole training sessions. And yeah, I wasn't happy about it. I didn't speak about it in terms of players not training, because I knew eventually they would go in and they would have to train because that's their job. But to say that Steve Bruce is still here, it's, for me, that confirms that I think we're going to go down. And even if we do stay up this season, what we're gaining, because it'll be Steve Bruce next season and it'll be the same old problems, but this time when we get back into the stadium, we might be able to get rid of him. And that's the only reason why he's still here, because we've not been allowed to go in the stadium to vent our frustration, because if we were allowed in the stadium, he'd be long gone. He wouldn't be at this football club. It's as simple as that. That's a fact. But right now, we are a mess. We are a mess. And it would just be typical Newcastle to give underperforming players a contract, if that's what's going to happen. It's all alleged, I'll say that, because we don't know if and when he's going to get this contract. But I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it's a decision that the board decide to U-turn on, because it's more money wasted. It really is. Yes, even if it is lower wages, it doesn't matter. We're still playing a player that's not being good enough. We're still paying a player that's not living up to his contract, not living up to the club's expectations. Because look where we are in the league. As I speak, we're 17th. We're 17th. You know, the club wanted to finish 10th. I wasn't expecting that, but at least mid-table, we're not even going to finish that at the end of the season. But it's just, it's embarrassing, man. We are really, really embarrassing. But we'll wait and see what happens in the coming weeks. But if it does break, then I will talk about it. I'm going to try and get back to regularly posting on this channel, but we'll have to wait and see. Because right now, I've got no motivation to talk about it because we're so depressing to watch. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Hit the like button. Put your comments down below what you think about this. And I'll speak to you soon. How are the lads?